one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of the creators, in particular Black creators, as well as Black and Brown creators, it felt like we weren't earning the money that we should. And
Mm.
we need to earn money.
Woo! Welcome all to your space for everything empowerment. I am your host, Tariq Williams, and not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. We are visionofhope.com for coaching, all your great places to really get your empowerment. But this is the podcast. You are the listener. I am the host, and we have a special guest here with us today. And just to really listen and hear about her story, as well as just know what it means for creators getting paid. And I got the pleasure to meet this individual through a fellowship we were both in, and just so much knowledge. And I'm so excited for her to be able to empower all of us with her story and what she has to tell us today. So without further ado, the host of Creators Getting Paid, Michelle Jackson.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for this conversation. I also am geeking out that we're wearing black sweatshirts with white lettering. Mine says, if I can, kindness is so gangster, which I bought at a really cool event. And I wish I knew the creator's name. It is not my design, but I wanted to, share that I'm slightly a little more casually dressed than I typically would be. But I like the saying, kindness is so gangster.
I know. I love that. I love that. And for our video audience, so my hoodie, also black, like you said, it says we are Vision of Hope. So that's my brand. It's my hoodie. And so we will have to get you one of these, and that you will know the creator.
Yes.
Oh gosh. So Michelle, we start off every episode, and we really like to talk about language on the podcast, because words and everything, they only have the power that we give them. So if you were to describe your brand, Creators Getting Paid, in one word, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a very good question. And I keep thinking of two words.
All right. Buy one, get one free. Okay.
No. We're not going to do that. We're impact, actually impact. And so the reason why I say that is creators getting paid is being built in such a way that not only is it a community, but it's also a resource. But it's also a resource designed and community and space designed to help other creators thrive, so that kind of like when you throw a stone and the water ripples out, that the impact grows over time. So an example of that would be Paulette Arado, who you have met. She was actually in my cohort. And Paulette was also part of the fellowship that we were in this spring. And she was basically someone that I was very blessed to meet. She runs a wonderful community of people, which is Latinas in podcasting. And part of what happened was I was supportive of the work that she was doing, and just a safe space for her to toss ideas and just to be in community with. And so I feel really proud that she's designed this thing. She learned some things from me. She had other things, of course, that she already knew. And now there's this ripple effect, this impact, where she's serving other people. And there are other people like that in the community. So for me, impact is definitely the word. But there's the other piece, which is it's called creators getting paid. And so one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of the creators that I was in community with, in particular Black creators, as well as Black and Brown creators, and then there were our allies who were really like mission driven and cared about people. It felt like we weren't earning the money that we should. And we need to earn money because we need to make sure that we're building healthy and sustainable communities, resources, projects, because it's very clear that we're not getting funding and that there are headwinds. However, there are always headwinds with business. And so I started reaching out to people that I knew who looked like me, who looked like you. And I was like, or who looked like friends of mine. And I was like, hey, I noticed that you're doing these really cool things. How can you share how you're monetizing the work that you're doing and staying aligned with who you're trying to serve? And so that was kind of the genesis of this project. It was reaching out to people who also I wanted to give them their flowers, where there were really cool people doing cool work. And I wasn't seeing them being shared in the ways that I saw our colleagues, our other creative colleagues being shared. And so I was like, I'm going to design this space so that I can make that happen and also ask questions and learn from them. So a good example is right before we got on our interview, this conversation,
Yeah.
I actually interviewed Michael Motley from One Mike Black History, which is the coolest project ever. And it's a history channel where he explores all kinds of different things in Black American, African American history. He's grown his channel to 175,000 subscribers, and he's just doing a really impactful, important piece of work, curating our history in a way that's really fresh and unique. And it's important now because we very clearly our history is under attack. So I think about impact very much in like how can I support people and then what they'll do beyond when they outgrow whatever it is I can share.
So you saw a problem because you would think that something like this to be able to help individuals get paid and create on wherever they're creating, right? Like
Mhm.
something like this brand would have already existed. How long has your brand been in on the surface here?
Well, I'm going to answer it two different ways. Things like this exist. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're showing Black people and Hispanic people and Asian people doing it.
Mm,
Like they're not necessarily leading with us as the creators,
I got you.
as the face of the resource. And so that's where I found the problem point. I was looking for, I mean, even more candidly, I was looking for business focused projects that I could listen to a podcast and learn a skill or learn about funnels or like there's all these like conversations around content creation that I'm really interested in. And I was listening to all these business podcasts and I felt like they were great. Like I still listen to them, but I kept noticing that there was a gap in kind of the business focused content that Black creators were designing. It was just not, there was just nothing quite like that. And I just felt like this is where I was missing that type of content. So I was like, I might as well start it because this is starting to really bother me.
Mm.
And it had been for a while. And I was like, okay, I'll just put something together. And that's kind of what happened. I've been working on this project since August of 2022. So yeah.
Did did you always think like as you're growing up and went to college and all the things, is this what you thought you'd be doing?
No, of course not. No.
Don't
I'm
ask dumb questions,
no,
Tariq.
no. Because this
What
didn't
did
exist when I was young. Like this wasn't
Mm,
anything that would have been a career, right? So what I would say is, did I think that I would do something? So my dream actually, this is interesting. So when I was like in high school, college, I thought I would go into politics. I also was very excited about being Secretary of State. I was always very interested in policy and journalism. So what I will say is I am now a member of the Colorado Association for Black Journalists. So I am like, but I was asked to be a part of that because of my creative work as a podcaster.
oh,
So
okay.
they relaunched our chapter, which is now in the running for chapter of the year for National Association for Black Journalists. So they relaunched our chapter, I think, just after COVID. So it's the biggest chapter outside of the one in Los Angeles, which is saying something because I live in Denver. And so I was invited in, and when that happened, I was like, "Hey, I'd like a podcast." But but the president followed me on Twitter at that time, and so she knew perfectly well what I was doing.
Oh,
And so
wow.
that kind
Okay.
of, yeah, she knew. So it speaks to how we're in a moment where things have changed, like how like careers are different, how we can design the thing we want to be. The other project that I work on, which I'm not really going to mention because it'll be a little confusing, I think, in this, is is positioned in the personal finance space. And so what was happening was I was doing a lot of content around policy. I was talking a lot about financial policy. So even though I didn't become a politician and I didn't become like, I didn't go this traditional route towards the things I was always interested in, I'm still doing the same thing, but under my own terms, which I find really wildly exciting and weird and interesting all at the same time.
I mean, I would say that's what all my listeners are working on doing, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I love a good quote. Everybody, everybody has heard this one before. Be the change you wish to see in the world, right?
Right.
And so it seems like you saw a problem and you went and you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. I think a lot of people are trying to find ways to live in their purpose and not
Mhm.
too sure what their purpose is or how to do it. But maybe it's just seeing whatever it is that you want to change in the world and then taking the action to go ahead and do it.
I mean, yeah, I just got tired of not having what I wanted out there. And so I was like, let's do it.
You know,
There you go.
I had someone on the podcast a long time ago, and so I talk a lot about my blindness on the podcast.
Mhm.
But with this individual, it was interesting. So she's not blind, but she's an author, and she had a daughter with a disability. Has a daughter. She has a daughter with a disability, and she was looking for books in the bookstore. Where else would be like she was looking for books in the bookstore, and she couldn't find any books with a black young girl with a disability. Couldn't find anything like it. So she rage wrote a book, and now she's a full-time author. So I think
Um,
that
I
yeah, go
love
ahead,
everything
sorry.
about that. I love everything about it. And talking about books, I didn't tell you this, but I have a pen name. I write romances for fun. And I part of the reason why I write these romances is because as a Black woman, I just was like so tired of never having stories where I was the lead, where I could imagine myself to be the lead. And so having the technology really to be able to do that and to sell these things direct to the people that would want to consume it is awesome.
Yeah.
So I love that she did that.
And I think so often we find ourselves in positions where we're not supposed to win, right? And society tells us that we're not supposed to win. And I think there's something to be said for going out of our way, or actually, I shouldn't even say it like that. We're not going out of our way. We're going literally in our way. Like it's our way. It's our journey to take the space of actually being those who win and those who've come before us that have paved the way and those coming after us that want to continue learning and growing. I think it just speaks to once again being the change you wish to see in the world. So, Michelle, when you think about creators getting paid and the future of it and
Mhm.
the brand that you started to build, when you think of the future, what does that look like? And then after that, I want to get into some of the strategies that you give people in terms of getting paid. But when you think about the future of your brand, what do you think about?
Well, I mean, I think a really important part of that project is that I'm in community with other creators um, who are doing different types of work that I'm excited about, that I want to support, that I want to uplift, that I want to share. And I'm going to always want to do that. I'm going to always want to geek out about what people are doing. And so in terms of the future, I think in the next year to 3 years, there's an endless number of conversations that can happen around that. I do think it is important to talk about the moment that we're in the US and how building this type of project is almost like an urgent thing given how money is shifting, how things are changing. I think there's a huge opportunity right now because of it, though. It feels counterintuitive, but I feel like I'm kind of ahead of the game, ahead of the curve, if you will, in supporting a community like this and getting it in front of people. So I think there's a lot of upward momentum
Mm,
with the project because because I started it 3 years ago.
yeah.
So I kind of understand what I'm trying to do. I understand the language I'm trying to use in order to communicate with the people I'm communicating with. I understand what the end result is that I'm working towards. So um we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next 1 to 3 years.
So you see there's momentum with your brand.
Mhm.
So then let's take a step back in the person that wants to learn from you. Brand
Mhm.
new creator, trying to figure out how to get paid because it costs money to live, Michelle. Let's call it what it is. It
Uh-huh.
costs money to live, right? So how does somebody start getting paid as a creator?
I think that question doesn't quite. So here's what I would say. I typically am speaking with people who've probably been working on their project at least for a year. They're not new. So they've been building something out. They're probably intermediate to advanced in terms of just like the amount of time they've been putting into their project. And so the conversation isn't like simple. It's not one of those, well, what can they do to monetize? It's like, what's their brand? What is it that who is it that they're serving? What is the content that they're creating? So maybe for some people it makes sense to write a book. Maybe for some other people it makes sense to host a workshop. Maybe energetically you're not about that life where you're in front of the camera. Maybe so it's really trying to curate a lot of ideas around how people can show up, but also helping people have the tools to assess their project and themselves to pick the right monetization approaches for the project. So I think a better way to share this is to say, like, I'll share like how I am as a person and how it impacts how I monetize, right?
Mm, mhm,
So I love people. I love having conversations with groups. I don't love or thrive doing a lot of like one-on-ones. I enjoy them to a point. So like you'll get a lot of people talking about how they're always coaching. And I'm like, that feels like a lot. Like that doesn't light me up. Like I'm not lit up doing high ticket coaching. That's not for me. I am lit up doing group coaching or group workshops or having conversations with several people because I feel like we all thrive in that kind of exchange of wisdom and expertise and guidance. So for me within my brand, I have very few hours available for one-on-one coaching. I do it and I enjoy it, but because I'm able to enjoy it because I don't do it often. I love doing group coaching because I really thrive off of it. I don't do it often, but when you do group coaching, you get paid more, right? So you can kind of, and also I think a lot about how I monetize. So I do have high ticket offerings, but typically I'm not offering them to individuals. Those high ticket offerings would typically go to a company or corporation, right?
mhm.
So I feel like your question, it depends on the person, it depends on their project, it depends on how they're going to be able to show up for their brand and be consistent in bringing in those opportunities, right? And so it's like it's not a non-answer, but it's like candid, you know?
I don't consider it a non-answer because I believe that it's the
Okay.
right answer.
Okay.
Not that I was really like going through what I thought a right answer was, but I completely
Ah,
agree.
okay.
Um, so I'm a mindset coach and I do a lot of one-on-ones actually. So I do a
Not
lot
for
of
me.
one-on-ones. I do a lot of one-on-ones with my clients and
Uh,
but I think it starts from a mindset piece.
mhm.
Like you have to understand. So let me go back. I'm just going to quote us to death today.
Okay.
Whether you believe you can or can't,
Mhm.
either way, you're right.
Mhm.
So if you believe that you can create a brand that can make money,
You
put in
can.
the work, put yourself around people that are doing that thing, and you
Mhm.
eventually will get there.
Exactly.
And if you believe that you can't, then you'll never do those things.
Exactly.
Or you'll be like, that's Michelle can do that. I can't.
Yeah.
It's for the other person. I just have, and let's call it what it is. They're limiting beliefs, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's truly a mindset thing, and that's why I created a free guide, which is the money making playbook. A lot of my listeners have already gotten it, and with the money
Mhm.
making playbook, it's yes, you're underpaid. Here's why. Okay, yeah, here's why you're underpaid, and here's
Uh,
what we got to change.
mhm.
A lot of harsh truths in that guy, a lot of harsh truths. But once again, ultimately, I think it's a mindset thing. I can't get
Mhm.
strategies from Michelle if I'm already thinking I'm going to fail from the very beginning.
Mm. I mean, exactly. But I think I also want to touch on the fact that I'm building out a resource, right?
Uh-huh.
So even though I don't do a lot of one-on-one coaching, it doesn't mean that I don't provide those tools, right? Like I, when you're in community with people and you're having conversations with people, you notice what they're saying and what they don't say. And so
Mm.
as a content creator, it's important for you to pay attention to the spoken and unspoken conversations that are being had with you. And so things like to your point, imposter syndrome, which is really kind of what you're touching on.
100%.
And no, like noticing that, the other week I was in a Q&A session with my community, and one of them who is all of these people are basically definitely experts in what they're doing. That there's just or high intermediate. There's no doubt in my mind that there are people behind them that they can help. Period. And it was so frustrating for me to have one of the community members voice the following, which is, how am I how is it that I am um able to say that I'm the expert? Like why would really, she then said this, why would someone buy from me? And
Mm.
remember, I'm working with a lot of Black women, actually. Like, I have a diverse community, but a lot of the people in my community are Black women. And so just we sat down, that we were with the people. I'm like, everybody, let's like walk through like who we are, what we're doing in our project. Let's like just do statistics, how we've shown up, da, da, da. And it was wild to see like all of the just the data of what this person had done. And I was like, there is no reason why you should have this belief, but I respect that you do, and let's work through it. I respect that somehow you absorbed this lesson from others, you know, and we need to deprogram that out of you in some sort of way.
Not
And that's a process.
Yeah, not to go too deep on that particular individual, but
Mhm,
why do you believe, like, where does that come from? Like, having all the reasoning to believe that they're the expert,
mhm.
but then feeling like coming to you in Q&A saying, I'm not the expert.
I
Where do you
feel
believe that
like,
comes from?
I mean, there are a couple of things. I think that sometimes you do need a partner towards success. Like some people, most people don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Actually, most people don't do it alone. 90% of my large like breakthrough clientele, what have you, happened because of a person I knew. They told me something, they reaffirmed something about me, they connected me to someone else. So this conversation around, or actually they supported me as I worked through something. And I feel like when you get Black women in particular saying something like this, that they didn't have someone who reaffirmed or affirmed their worth. They didn't have someone who supported them as they did something, where they had to be like hyper um individualistic, which like culturally is not natural, right? Like Americans are very hyper individualistic, but like culturally, like historically, we are communal. And so having like this dysfunction, I think plays out in the beliefs that we have in ourselves. And I've definitely had the same, which is why I do what I do. Like it's constant work to reaffirm to myself that I am worthy of the success, the happiness, the joy, the outcomes that I'm working towards. And that's a process. And I think when you have, the divisive language that you do online towards Black women, there's a lot of things. It takes a lot to work through that. And I feel a lot of compassion and empathy, not sympathy, empathy, because I totally understand why she felt that way. But I was like, we need to work through this, not even from a coaching perspective, but just as a friend and as a colleague, right? Like you're telling yourself a lie, but I understand why you're lying to yourself, because all these other people are lying about your worth because they want you to believe that you're not worthy. So,
You touched on a lot of important things there. But I guess I want to start with the end. Why do people tell other people that they're unworthy? Like, I feel like a lot of times, for some reason, and it speaks to my brand a little bit, we are Vision of Hope, right?
mhm,
Um, I want to be in a space, I want to be a part of a space, I want to create a space that's built to uplift anyone and everyone.
right.
But we do live in a world where we put other people down and tell them why they're not worthy and tell them why
Mhm.
they're less than. Why do you think that happens? And, you know, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking that capitalism, I'm thinking, oh, if I'm getting money, then nobody else is, or I
Mhm.
have to get money versus somebody else and things like that. So those are just some of the things that come into my head as it pertains to why would somebody buy from me? Um,
Mhm.
just some of the things that I'm thinking about. Curious to get your thoughts
Well,
on
I
that.
mean, like I don't know why people are so I don't know. I feel like people can be very much in competition with others.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that in the society we live in, that's not surprising, right?
Hmm.
It is not surprising. It's fine if you have to pop off. It's not surprising that we our instinct is that we're going to be in competition instead of collaboration. And so I think that that's part of it. I think that corporate culture is also an issue where sometimes we bring that toxic corporate culture into our online business building, right? And so I think some of it is like this thoughts in our head, and other parts of it is just other people and how they're showing up. But for me, there are a couple things. One is I have a lot of boundaries around people. Like I'm a very like we're good. So I have a lot of boundaries around who I'm dealing with, but also how I'm dealing with people. So I'll give you examples. Some seem innocuous and others you'll be like, okay. So like one boundary is I'm my own boss now, right? So I don't meet with people before 10 a.m. Mountain time.
Let's
I
go.
hate to be you, East Coast, but like I don't like you understand, right? So
Right. Oh,
tired of
for sure.
East
I'm in
Coast.
Pacific time. Yeah.
You understand. So I show up best after I've woken up and I'm awake and I had my cup of coffee and I'm like, a little like eased into the day. No, I'm not going to just be on a meeting at 9 because you're out east and it's 11 o'clock your time. That just means that's a you problem. Let's have a conversation to find a good, and no one's the wiser, right? Like I'm just like, well, and all I do to set this boundary is say, they'll be like, well, what time can you meet? I'm like, I can meet at 10, or I can meet anytime after 10 mountain time, or I can meet anytime after 1 p.m. mountain time, which is 3 p.m. your time if you're East Coast. So I instead of being like, well, I don't meet anyone, but no, I just tell them what I can do. Right. So that's one way I set a boundary. Another thing is I just feel like if people are in competition with other people, they probably haven't done their numbers, right? Like, why do I live in a country with like 330 million people. I do not need to sell 330 million people worth of products. Like that is like I don't. I could sell a couple hundred products in a quarter and be fine, depending on the price of the product. So I think sometimes people are competitive because they haven't sat down and focused on the real thing, which is the thing they can control, which is the products that they're selling.
Mm.
Maybe they could do something like this week. I'm doing that podcasting challenge that we talked about.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I talked about the fact that a recession's very likely coming, right?
Did. Yep, you did.
And so what does that mean in terms of a creative business? Like, are we running our numbers? Are we minimizing our tech stack? Like, what are we doing in anticipation that this is probably going to happen? And so what are we proactively doing? So I feel like there's also just some things that as people in business, especially in the beginning of my business, I was terrible. Like I just was messing things up. But now I'm kind of like, oh wait, I know that this part of the year maybe it's slower, or this other part of the year it's busier, or I'm paying attention and my community, which is really engaged, doesn't like live workshops because they have busy lives and they have kids and they have travel and they want resources from me, but they aren't always able to show up live, right? So just like paying attention so that you can serve the people that you're serving where they're at versus where you think they are. And that requires a lot of like paying attention.
So that's the key. Um, when I work with my clients, and even when I think about the podcast and all those
Mhm,
things, it's so important to meet people where they're at.
mhm.
So important. I was a teacher, and
Oh,
when I was teaching, my ultimate goal was to meet my students where they're at so I could get them the best possible results. They're not perfect. They want to learn, right? Or
mhm.
hopefully they want to learn. But but the thing is, it's so important to meet people where they're at because then you gain their perspective and you're able to put yourself in their shoes and having empathy.
Mhm.
Um, so my undergrad was in English and education, but I got my
Oh, cool.
master's in counseling
Mhm.
and certifications in teaching blind people.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we haven't talked at length about this part, but I lost a vision at the age of 16.
Wow.
And when that happened, I really wasn't sure what next looked like. But the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because I have a unique thought process on the word opportunity.
Mhm.
I think when I think about the individual you mentioned earlier and not feeling like the expert in their craft, I think about when I became blind, I was in a space of feeling less than. I was in a
Right.
space of not knowing what next would look like. But when we think about opportunity, we typically think about opportunity as an advantage, right?
Mhm.
As a moment where somebody that I know gave me something that I didn't had, or someone who I didn't know gave me something that I didn't have. Where when I think about my blindness, I think about that's probably one of the biggest opportunities I've ever gotten in my life. See, every moment is an opportunity. Every moment is an opportunity. It doesn't have to be an advantage. It's the moment that we have, and it's up to us, it's up to you as the person to decide what you're going to do with your time because every moment is an opportunity. And there are going to be great opportunities, there are going to be not so great opportunities when it comes to advantages and things. But I
Right.
just am a big believer is that we could choose to learn from our hardships or they can choose to take us over.
Mm. I mean, I don't disagree. I just think that sometimes people aren't like you are right. However, sometimes we're not ready to receive that, right?
Oh, 100%. And maybe maybe I made becoming blind look a little glamorous there for a second.
Yeah.
Um
I don't think so. I don't think so. But I just feel like um sometimes people aren't ready to receive the message, right? Or
yeah.
or to, optimize the opportunity or the moment. So a good example of that is there were a lot of people in the online content creation space who actually really leveraged COVID. Like
Mm,
they were able to just dig deep and like people in the romance space, people in online content creation. Like there were people who had these standout years, right? And for me, I was in my place for 3 months listening to protests because you could hear it echoing throughout the city, the
Wow.
flashbangs as people were, the police were shooting things at people, right?
Mhm.
I was not in the mood to double down in that like that wasn't the moment for me, right? It was
Sure,
very
sure.
lonely because I was by myself for months and months and months. And so I feel like sometimes just because, we're on the other side of these moments where maybe there was doubt and we're able to see opportunity doesn't mean that somebody else is. Maybe somebody's moment is now, maybe it's not, and it's up to them to kind of like be able to show up for the moment that they show up in. So like me energetically, this is very different than 2020. Okay, it was very
Yeah,
depressing. I was
yeah.
depressed. I was in my house for months by myself, and I enjoy my company. It actually took a year. It was one day. So we had a pretty significant lockdown in Colorado. Um, and I was fine. I'm an only child, which actually plays into this. So I was fine. I was, self-entertained and doing whatever, reading. And one day, like it was about a year, and one day I was like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Like this can't go on. And so it was baffling to me to see all these people just have these reserves of energy and like creative, like that wasn't me. I'm an extrovert. And so it just how I show up was changed because I couldn't show up. I was in my house. And even though as an only child, I was I was able to be comfortable around myself, there was a point where I was like, I'm not okay anymore. So I say this to say that there are moments but when people just naturally are able to thrive, or there are moments where we've learned all the lessons, not all like completed, but like we've learned enough lessons where we can optimize a moment. It sometimes it just depends, right? And I'm happy that I'm out of that cycle that I was in 2020. I'm able to show up very differently now. And I'm able also to apply what I learned about myself to what I'm doing now because it was a lot of learning about how I can show up and what makes me thrive, what doesn't, and how um I can be of service to others within the context of what I'm building.
Yeah.
That's why I have so many boundaries, to be honest,
Okay.
you know?
Okay. So, and I agree as well. However, I would like to say that one, like for me, I needed to do some inner work first, right? There was inner work I had to do to be able to accept the hardships that I was going through. Until I did that work, I wasn't going to be able to get to another place in my life. Um, a couple things that you said that I think are important, which I would say were important moments for you, would be one, it's okay to not be okay. Um, it for the most part, it just means that you're human. But recognize that it's okay to be that, and then at the same time, and once again, I don't know I don't know exactly what you were feeling in those moments, but I think there's something to be said for having the opportunity to say, okay, Michelle's been great this entire time or what have you, but now, I'm not okay. And there's something to be said to give yourself grace. What are your thoughts of giving yourself grace throughout this whole process?
Well, I absolutely did.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I wasn't like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
absolutely did. Yeah, and that's why I'm feeling good now. Like
Yeah.
I can only do what I can do.
Yeah.
So that for me wasn't an issue. Like there's just only, also because I'm not as young as I look, right? And so I feel like in life, to your point, the ability to give yourself grace, I think is a life lesson and learned skill that I hope more would learn. Like I'm not perfect. things are going to happen.
Yep.
I can only do so much and go from there. So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think a lot of times, and really getting back to your brand here, and I want to
Mhm.
speak a little bit about you know what's funny? And you don't know this actually.
Oh
I
God.
had no idea what Substack was
Oh, that's fine.
until I found you on accident.
Oh,
So I actually
that's random.
you know, we never talked about that, but yeah, I had no idea what Substack was, and
Okay.
I was finding some different things for creators and making money and all that, and
Uh-huh.
I found you. So when I saw you in the fellowship, I was like, oh snap, am
Wait,
I
this was
supposed to be
before
here?
the fellowship?
This was a pre-fellowship.
What? I
This was
like
a
geeked out.
pre-fellowship. Um,
Oh my God.
yeah. So I was like, you know, I'm like, and so real quick in that moment, I was having some imposter syndrome
Mhm.
because someone who I had found on social, like, well, I guess we get into that in a second, but
Okay.
so someone who I had found online was doing the things
Mhm.
that I was working on doing, right? So through all that and giving yourself grace and opportunity and all those different things, we have to find ways. I think the toughest place to give yourself grace is when the rent's due, is when the
Ooh,
mortgage is due, right? When the
yeah.
bills gotta get paid. And I think it really speaks to the power of your brand and what you're doing. So not exactly a question,
Mhm.
but once again, in those moments where people are trying to give themselves grace, even but it's difficult because there's deadlines, right?
Yeah.
Um, what are some of your thoughts behind that?
Give me more. What do you mean? Like, I feel like there's more to that question.
Sure, sure. So I think that when there is a deadline given to you
Mhm.
by somebody else and
Okay.
not yourself, it's more difficult to give yourself grace in those situations. Um, so like if I am trying to do if I'm trying to build my own podcast, but I'm tired one
Right.
day and I'm struggling, I can give myself that grace. But if somebody else is depending on me or
Mhm.
a bill needs to get paid, right? I find it more difficult to give myself grace in those situations when people rely on me or I need to have groceries in my house, right?
I think they're totally different conversations though, right? So I'm going to touch on the first, which is like maybe someone's like quote unquote depending on you to show up on their show or something like that. That to me is a boundary and logistics conversation, right? So today and tomorrow and next week, I am batching content. And what I'm doing is this is my third conversation today.
Wow.
uh, the first two were guests on my show, and then I'm a guest on your show. And then I'm going to do another piece of content after this because I'm a crazy person doing the 31-day podcasting challenge. Tomorrow, I have several conversations lined up as well, where I'm batching content with guests for creators getting paid. Um, and so to me, like, I feel like if you are working with people on behest of your brand, you're relying on other creatives to be in front of your audience. Just really thinking about how you can facilitate that in a way that you can show up. But life happens. Like, what if you got sick today? Just you would have been like, Michelle, I'm sick. Okay. Like, I should personally have either so many conversations booked already that it's like, well, we'll make it happen. I should have so many creator conversations for my brand that it's like things are running smoothly. So I think this is more of a systems issue versus a I have to show up for you and stress myself out.
I got
Like,
you.
no. Um, the money one is different. So I feel like not enough people are candid about the ups and downs that can occur building out these brands where you are getting you know, a $10,000 check one month and then 200 the next. You know what I mean? And that was the other reason why I have creators getting paid, because the emphasis actually is on not only building a sustainable brand, but like helping people to reimagine how they can build and bring in recurring revenue into their business. So that is, I think, a conversation that we don't have often enough, because again, maybe you'll do a brand partnership. Maybe you have an affiliate payout that was really large. Maybe you did a course and you had a large launch. Maybe you have books that you're selling and one month they just like went through the roof. And so for me, having experienced like this really, like it's been a roller coaster. So part of what I'm doing also just behind the scenes with my brand is really working hard to like smooth it out so that things aren't such a roller coaster financially behind the scenes. So with Substack, for people who aren't familiar with Substack, it is a platform where a lot of people are building out newsletters or interactive platforms that are like might be called a newsletter or something similar. And one of the things that is really nice about that, that platform is you can have paid subscribers, but candidly, the free subscribers make you a lot of money. So the first year that I was on Substack, when I had like 700 folks, I made like almost $15,000 just off the Substack.
Wow.
Because I was monetizing the free tier, so I was doing like workshops and I had a deep pocketed sponsorship, brand partnership. And then I was doing different things that made me a nice little chunk of change, because, anything hitting over 5,000 is, I think you're like, oh, okay. So having just about $15,000 that first year, I was like, this is amazing. And then the second year, that income from Substack dropped, even though I had like some really good consulting clients. And I was like, why is this happening? And I had to audit what I was doing. And a couple of things I realized was on Substack, which is really interesting, it has its own like enclosed ecosystem. So it has about 30 million people using that newsletter platform to read other people's work and, to meet these creators, what have you. But if they're completely new to you, the warm up phase of the purchasing cycle is longer than I think people anticipate, especially if they're building their Substack only with people from the Substack platform. And so what I realized, and I'm glad I realized it then, is that you really have to diversify the traffic of the people that you're serving with the project that you're building out. So I'm really focused on getting people from workshops off the platform, from newsletters that I advertise in, from workshops that I hold in person here in Denver, or maybe I do an online workshop, but it's advertised off the platform. So really understanding that like having a diversified audience that are discovering you will monetize you better in the long run. It'll be a healthier project. The other thing is I realized that I had stopped developing digital products. So I was making money, but I had a lot of consulting work that year. So that was good, but I was like, my Substack's underperforming, even though the engagement is really high. I'm growing the list. That's really good. Like what's going on? And then the other piece was something that was a design flaw, which was I wasn't curating enough of the stuff that I promised would be on the Substack. So people were still opting in, but they weren't converting to being a paid subscriber because I wasn't providing enough of the things that they were starting to get really excited about, like these creator interviews. So I kind of feel like you have to have a downturn in order to know the things that you need to look out for and troubleshoot so that you can do a better job. So I don't regret any of this, but it was definitely a learning like a learning curve and a life lesson. And I do think the digital products piece is important too. Whether or not you're building a newsletter or an email list, or you're optimizing mini chat to grow a list somewhere. One, you have to sell to people, but you have to ask yourself, what am I selling? So if I'm telling you earlier, I'm not trying to coach people all day long. I'm not. I don't want to do that. Okay. Um, so if I'm not doing constant coaching conversations, and I'm not facilitating workshops, like what are the things that I'm doing where a person is like, I want to learn from you, but I can't go to a workshop. What's available to me? Or I want to learn from you, but I just need to learn this one thing. And so this year I was like, oh, why in all the years I've made digital products and done things, like it's not like I haven't done these things. Why did I drop the ball then? And so this year, this summer, it's all about building those things out again because I've had them. But this community is different. I've had time to learn from them and see what they like, what they dislike, what makes sense and to build. So actually, it's not bad that I'm building now, but it would be bad if I didn't build this year. It would be a huge mistake. So last year was not an anomaly, but a one-off. This year, it would be a real mistake not to build out products. And I think, as you've been listening to all the podcasts, one of the things I talked about was like content creation versus like, are you creating content? Are you selling? Or are you marrying the two together? And for me, I think that there was a point where I just kind of was like content creation and forgetting to make sure that there were selling components within the content. I think it's easy to do if you don't have systems in place. And so making sure that if you're the type of person who might squirrel or just get distracted by life or just whatever, to make sure that you anticipate that so that you can address it so it's not a problem later.
And I'd be remiss if once again, and I just want to double down on Substack seems like a really cool platform. I'm not really using it at all,
Oh,
except
that's funny.
for
Yeah.
checking out some of your content. But something I thought was really cool, and as we get ready to wrap up here, something I think is we touched on a lot of awesome stuff, but I know you have a new product coming out for teaching creators how to get paid on Substack. Would you like to talk about it?
Yeah, so I'm in the beta launch, if you will, for how to make money on Substack. And it's kind of the way that I'm looking at it is a guide to getting out of your own way, in terms of just thinking that making money on Substack is all about the paywall. Because the premise that people have heard about often is you go on Substack and then you turn on the paywall and then you're going to get paid. And it's a huge mistake for a lot of reasons. I have a paywall, but I think that people need to remember that there's more than one way to get paid. And that my first year of being on the platform, I actually got paid the most. And it was because I really optimized my free users. And so just really working through like, what does that look like? What to consider, how to imagine what you could do with your brand. There are other products that are being built out throughout the summer, but I would say, I do want to say one thing. Substack is a tool. So who you're talking about Substack with, the messaging changes. So if the audience for your show is other creators, then yes, I would say I'm building a project on Substack. When I'm talking to my audience, I never say to them, I'm on Substack. I say, follow me on Creators Getting Paid.
Yeah,
Go to
that's
the
true.
link. Because then that helps me to avoid educating them on something they don't care about. It's just a tool that facilitates them receiving a product from me. That's all they care about. But if they're a creator, that's different because they might want to use a similar tool and they might want to geek out or learn more about that tool. But I don't sit there and say I'm building on Substack to my audience. I only say that to other creators who might be interested in using the tool.
Yeah,
So,
no, that makes all the sense in the world. That makes all the sense in the world. And I would say for my audience, it's a mindset space. It's an
Yep.
empowerment space. But I feel like your story that you've taken us on today, as it pertains to like 2020, as it goes to building your
Mm,
brand on creators getting paid, and then we got to go really in the ins and outs of it, right? And talk about giving yourself grace some of those difficult times and what it means to get paid as a creator. I think ultimately we all have our own story. And
right.
so I think it just was important to mention. So I really appreciate your time so much, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me. We had to like change the times and what have you, but darn it, me being busy and darn Arizona for having weird time zones. But it was an absolute pleasure. I am invested in your success.
I appreciate
And I think that that's something that being a part of the community that I'm building, I wish that, more people would just be like, I want you to be successful. I want you to thrive. I want you to have joy. And I feel like that is a very powerful thing for the moment that we're in. And in order for that to happen, we need knowledge, we need support, we need camaraderie, and to uplift one another. And so that is something I'm trying to do in whatever way that I can do it.
and that's what my brand is all about. And
Mm.
so if we could leave the audience again with one word, something that they hope that they took away from this podcast episode, what would be your one word? If they heard nothing else about your story and grace and all the different things, what's one word you want to make sure people understand after they cut this off today?
Community. You
Mm,
cannot do this alone. Anyone who tells you can is full of it.
mm.
You need people. You need people for guidance. You need people for support. You need people to share ideas with. You need people to earlier today I had a conversation with a creator who's very well known actually on Substack, and we just hit it off. Like, it was hilarious. But there was a point where something came up and I was like, I'm gonna cry. And she was my guest, and it was something that's upsetting. And she's like, cry. Like, you need people to be a safe space for you. You need people to believe that you can do whatever it is you imagine you're doing. And I really want for people to understand that this hyper individualistic like approach to working online, it ultimately your brand's not going to thrive, because you need people to get you in front of other people, because you need people to advocate on your behalf, because you need to have conversations with people who get past the gatekeepers, and they tell you, oh yeah, like I got this amount of money for this thing. You're like, god dang, they weren't telling me that. So community is 100% the word.
I love that. And on one of your episodes, you mentioned Amy Porterfield, and
Yeah.
she, and
Huge
she,
fan.
same here. Huge fan of Amy.
Huge fan.
Amy Porterfield,
Yeah.
if you're listening, think you're awesome. But anyways, and she has a friend, Jen Gottlieb, which I listen to a lot of her stuff as well.
Mhm.
And one thing that Jen Gottlieb says is that like, and one thing on my brand that I'm working on is getting on more stages, more paid
Mhm.
speaking engagements along those lines. And one of the things she doesn't necessarily talk about putting yourself in like a lot of these different places to find speaking engagements. She says connect with people
Exactly.
because opportunities don't come from thin air. Opportunities in different situations come from other people. And I really like that thought process a lot by just making connections, but making friends and people that would want to just uplift. And that really speaks a lot to my brand because my brand very much could have just been like Vision of Hope or a lot of these different things. But I wanted it to be we because it's
Mm.
not just about me,
Mhm.
it's we, our vision of hope. We got to lift each other up. What's another quote, I guess, for the people as we get ready to head off here? A rising tide lifts all boats.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
but Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. And if you want to check out Creators Getting Paid, just go to creatorsgettingpaid.com/newsletter. You can check out all the things there.
Awesome. And not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope, and this is the Speak Your Vision podcast. Let's get it.